Hello, winners. Let's get going with the next asset. I'm going to just have to go through this a little more rapidly. And since I am kind of pressed on time, but I don't want to sacrifice the quality for the time. Let's look at some of these assets that are not really panning out right now. Let's find out why. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this one. Now, at one point, they did pan out. Right now, at the time of this recording, it is October 25th, just so that you guys know. So we took this on the 2nd of October. And let's take a look at the research and see what's going on with the Australian Canadian dollar. All right. So with the Australian Canadian dollar, we're going to look at, there's actually 4 confirmations. I only did 3 confirmations, but there's supposed to be 4. And then there's other aspects to this particular strategy that uses other tools. I'll incorporate that as well on the next video. Okay, so let's see what's going on. Now we do see, let's pull up the brush. Now we do see that there is a true value for this that is strong. So if I were to continue this long term, it will pan out for me, but there's other tools that I would need to incorporate into this to really make sure that I would like to take this long term. There's a lot of good benefits here. Even though it is below, in this case, let me move this out of the way. In this case, it is below the line here. So it's in the southern hemisphere, but because it is the true value, and we do have a very strong crossover here that was heading up with some really strong upward movement, I still see this as a very strong case for long-term perspective. If you were to take this as a long-term asset. So let's see if we can still hold on to this long-term. All right. Let's look at the other perspective here. Now, we do see a very strong move upward. So we're still going to look at this as a very strong upward trend. And of course, we have that crossover. And let's look at one more perspective. And we have our final perspective here. Now, even though this is still in buy territory, we obviously see why this is happening right now. So this has to be taken in a sense where whether or not you're going to, as an investor, continue to hold on to this. Will you be able to hold on to this asset even when it's going through a drawdown phase? And when I say drawdown phase, in this case, since it is current market value, long-term perspective, we're talking for maybe a month of drawdown. So if you're able to handle that, then go ahead. If not, then I would suggest you don't hold on to it. But there's one more perspective that we need to look at. And we're going to look at the Australian Canadian dollar. All right. So we do see something very interesting here. So obviously we're still in some very strong territory. But something very interesting, and that's this here. See, so we're in above territory. But that's this here. We do see a possible break and a possible move upward if this does not continue to, I'm talking about this here, this little bend. If that little bend moves up, then we will continue to see that long-term perspective play out. So this is the last indicator in the Forex Helper Strategy that will either help me to make the final determination. But let's look from a technical analysis. But now let's look at the fundamental analysis. We're going to look at the prompt, and we're going to look at another asset. So let's see, is there an option here? So this is from this asset. So let's just go ahead and type in AUD, CAD, and let's go ahead and see what the fundamental analysis will give us. Now, with this fundamental analysis, when it comes to the Forex, it does get more in depth. I program, I think, 7 to 8 points, very important points that play a major role. All right. And these are the points. These are the factors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we saw those factors too play out in the Africa 40, the previous asset that we looked at. So let's just kind of see. I want to see this from a current market value perspective. But let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. Now, this goes into detail because as we start to look into what's going on with the banks in these countries that represent these currencies, then we start to understand more, especially when we start digging more into the policies and things of that nature. But again, that's for a more in-depth study, not for this particular style of video. All right, so let's see what the asset type is. So we know that it's Australian dollar versus, not Australian dollar versus US dollar. Well, I see what they're doing. Okay. So since the US dollar is the reserve currency, automatically it connects to every currency. So they just pretty much connected it. But it is the Australian dollar versus Canadian dollar, as we see at the bottom, the sentiment here. Now, the reason it has to be separated is because in the Forex, the first asset or the first currency that's being listed, that is the lead currency in this whole asset. So we're looking at the Australian economy when we really focus on this asset here. So the fundamental analysis is really a breakdown of what's going on in the Australian economy. All right. Now, I want to see, it's been a while since I actually messed with this bot, but let me see if they could get a deeper dive into the Australian economy. Okay. So you look deeper into AUD. Oops, I put AID. Look deeper into AUD. All right, there you go. So let's see if hopefully I didn't deviate too far from the script. And hopefully it'll give me the format. Now, there's been updates with these chat bots. And the last time when I created this, that was during the, oh, there you go. It did it. Awesome, 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 awesome. Okay, so even better. So let's see, let's look deeper into this. Let me see, what do we have here? All right. The Regional Bank of Australia. All right, so let's kind of go from the top and then we'll move into the deeper fundamental analysis. All right, so the key drivers for the Australian dollar are the are commodities, iron ore, gold versus oil, but economic outlook, strong exports versus the oil rebound supports. So these, again, have to really be searched deeper so that we can have a more clearer understanding. But let's look at the sentiment here. All right, bullish Australian dollar, China stimulus, bearish Canadian. So do we have a direction here? I want to see if there's a direction. Did they give us direction? Yeah, direction was right here. All right, so it is going bullish. So according to the fundamental analysis, there is some bullish outlook on this as well. Now, when I did go deeper, I want to see if there's any other things that might have been added. Let me see. Economic outlook weakening amid global uncertainty. All right, we do see that. That is true. We saw that being played out in the current market movement. It is weakening due to global uncertainty. Okay. Regional Bank of Australia holds 4.3%. Fed cuts pressure AUD. U.S. mineral deal, but trade tensions persist. All right. So we do see, again, there is a downturn right now as of this date here. Oh, today's the 24th. I thought it was the 25th. Okay, the 24th. Let me make sure here. That's the 25th here. Oh, yeah, it's the 24th. Okay. All right. So, let's see. Bearish. All right. So, again, we're going to go deeper into the Australian economy. But for now, I just want you guys to kind of get a overview, a quick fundamental analysis overview of the Australian dollar. Now let's look at the Canadian dollar. Okay, deep look at the Canadian dollar. All right, so we're going to get a deeper look at the Canadian dollar. Okay, so here we have our results for the fundamental analysis according to the Forex Helper Strategy, and with the help of this AI assistant to give us a great insight as to what's going on with the Canadian dollar. So we know the key drivers for Canadian dollar is oil and gold. Okay. And let's see what the sentiments here. So it is bearish. So this is a really good pair setup. Now, obviously, we're seeing some issues with the Australian dollar, but because this is a very bearish outlook according to the current market value from the Forex Helper Strategy, this would be a great pair, and it does match up to what we took here as a trade. So we have Australian dollar in a buy position versus the Canadian dollar long term. Now, obviously, we're seeing some drawdown here, so we're going to just hold on to it. We're going to hold on to this long term. We're going to wait for it to manifest into profit, and then we will collect when it does manifest into profit. And this goes into showing you guys, long-term investors, you long-term traders out there, you can hold your asset according to the long term, as long as you're going in the right direction, okay? Now, if you're going through some drawdowns, we've made money on the Australian Canadian dollar using this strategy already. So on our second placement, this is our second placement, which was on October 2nd. But prior to that, we made our profit already. So this is like our second, round with this asset. So we're just going to have to wait this one out. But overall, you want to diversify as well. That's another thing you want to do. Like, this account represents diversification, but this account won't represent diversification for our project. So, but for now, we're going to keep this Forex signal, and we're going to go to the next Forex signal, and we're going to get rid of anything else here that is not dealing with Forex, which would include like the China 50 and let's see, the France, these indices. We're going to hold on to the Hong Kong for now because I don't want to close that out at a loss. And we're going to close out all the other, stuff here, like the stocks and the commodities. Okay. But that's it for now on the Australian dollar versus Canadian dollar. We'll see you on the next signal strategy research. And until then, remember, only winners invest in their minds for wiser returns.